Whether you've completed a project, or just a phase within it, you may find that certain equipment is no longer in use. At this point, it's important to return any unneeded equipment. But how should you go about this? Returns are part of the order process, and are organized into 3 views in Centix, namely return requests, return receipts, and return lists. In the return requests view, objects and products can be specified for return. In the return receipts view, these items are received and processed to ensure they are returned to the correct location. Once processed, they then appear in the return lists. In this video, we explain how the return process works in Centix. When equipment is no longer needed on a project site, the executor can submit a return request via the front office screen in the Return Requests overview. All previously submitted return requests can also be found here. To submit a new return request, click on Add in the top left-hand corner. A return request detail screen now opens. Here, select the project from which you wish to return the equipment, the reason for the return, the warehouse to which the equipment should be returned, and fill in the date from which the equipment is no longer needed. You can also select the transport method and add a note. Once everything is completed, click Save. The return request is then saved, with the status, concept. In the Lines tab, you can add equipment to the return request. Depending on the selected project location, only the products or objects available at that location will be displayed. Optional text lines can be added to the return request. This is useful, for instance, when equipment has been moved from one project to another, without using the order basket, or when more equipment is returned than was originally indicated in the order, such as in the case of lost equipment that has since been found. Select the items you wish to return. When adding items, you can specify the quantities for each product or object, attach documents, or add a note. In some cases, you may have more items of a product than are listed on the packing note, which can be reflected in the quantities. A message will then appear on the screen, indicating that the quantity entered is higher than the available quantity at the project location. If you wish to return all items from the selected location, you can choose the option, Add Complete Search Result. You can also include documents with your return request, such as photos of reported damage, the packing note to verify what was originally delivered, or any relevant email correspondence. Once everything is completed, the request can be submitted. The executor has submitted the request, which is now visible in the back office screen of the Return Requests overview. Here, you can review and process the submitted return requests. It is also possible to submit a return request from the back office screen. Open the return request you wish to process. You can then view the request, make changes, and ultimately reject, cancel, or accept it. The Lines tab lists all requested return items and any accompanying text lines. You can open these lines to view additional information. It is possible to reject either an entire request or a single line. When rejecting a request or a line, you can provide a reason and an explanation. Once the return request has been approved, the equipment can be definitively returned. The requester will receive an email confirming that the request has been accepted, and that the equipment can be returned. The equipment manager or warehouse employee has received the equipment to be returned, and can finalize the process via the Return Receipts overview. This overview displays all open return receipts based on the selected warehouse. Click Add to create a new return receipt. When creating a return receipt, you can select a return type. Depending on the chosen type, you will be prompted to fill in the location, order, or return request. After saving, you can add the equipment associated with the selected location, order, or return request. For the return request type, an additional widget appears, displaying the full content of the respective return request. Products or objects and text lines can be viewed in this field. It indicates whether a note or document has been added, which can be checked by clicking on the paperclips and hovering over the note. Scanning the items will add them to the return receipt, after which you can specify the quantities for the relevant lines. For unique objects, you can include additional options by selecting the checkboxes. For example, if an object is returned damaged and needs to be repaired, you can select the repair checkbox. Depending on the system settings, the cost of the repair will be charged, and the object will be moved to the warehouse repair location. In some cases, it is desirable to conduct an inspection immediately upon return receipt, so that the object can be inspected and placed on the shelf ready for rental again. This can be done according to the linked inspection schedule. Additionally, an entrance check can be performed to verify completeness and ensure that the quality is in order. After the entry check, the object is automatically added to the return receipt. If you do not perform this check, you still have to click on Return Item before it is added to the return receipt. Repeat this process for all other products or objects in the request. For a text line, you can also indicate how much of the listed item you have received. After completing all the steps, you can finalize the return by clicking Process. The equipment has now been returned and is located at the selected warehouse. The return receipt is now in the return list overview. Here, you can view the returns submitted via the return receipts. When you open a return list, you will see details of the specific return, including who processed it. By navigating to the return list items, you can see which equipment was returned and when. By opening a line, additional information may be available that was included in the return receipt, such as a notification indicating that the item needs to be repaired. Finally, it is possible to view and add documents. Now that the equipment to be returned has been received and processed, a final billing step can be completed.